All right, so sorry, I was filming this when it cut off on me, so let me start over. All right, so this is all about sex linkage and X inactivation. So I can define a sex-linked gene. A sex-linked gene is simply a gene found on one of the sex chromosomes. And so the vast majority, I will tell you, 100% of the ones we talk about in AP Bio are going to be X-linked, meaning they're found on the X chromosome. There are some Y-linked. They're very few and far between, but there are some out there. I just want to let you know. And so this shows you, for example, the red is the X-linked carrying the recessive trait, in this case hemophilia. And so this mom would be a carrier. And if she mated with this normal father, these are their potential kids. Normal son, carrier daughter, affected son, normal daughter. Normal meaning she doesn't have the gene at all. The reason boys, this guy here has it, even though neither parent has it, is because boys get their X chromosomes from mom. So when it is an X-linked condition, it doesn't matter what's on the Y chromosome. It can't overshadow this. So even if it's a recessive condition like hemophilia A, it is still going to show up because there's no second X. Whereas this daughter here has the same gene as him, but she has a second X. And so that second X is going to have the dominant normal clotting gene, and it's going to mask that hemophilia gene. So she's not going to have hemophilia. She's just going to carry the gene for it. Whereas even though they both got one copy of this X, he is going to have hemophilia because he doesn't have a second X to block out or blot out that recessive trait. So I can explain why males are more likely to have a sex-linked trait than females, and that's kind of why, because males only have one X. So in order for this boy to have it, he only needs a mother who's a carrier. She could also be affected, but it doesn't matter what the father is because he's given a Y. For a daughter to get it, for a girl to get it, she needs to get an X with the condition from her mom. So her mom has to either be a carrier or have the condition. And she needs to get an X with that condition from her dad, which means he would have the condition. So that would be like saying a hemophiliac father marries or finds and mates with a woman who is either a carrier or has hemophilia as well. And just the probability of that is slim. And so that's why we see more boys with it, because they only need a mom who's a carrier, whereas a girl needs mom and dad to have that gene. I can list at least 2 sex-linked disorders or traits. Hemophilia A is one of them. Duchenne's muscular dystrophy is another. And red-green color blindness. There are others as well, but those are the 3 that we talk about mainly. There are also other hemophilias, other red color blindnesses, and other muscular dystrophies that are not X-linked. So it is specifically those: hemophilia A, red-green color blindness, and Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. All right, I can give the genotypes and phenotypes. I've already written these because I already videotaped this one a minute ago. Genotypes and phenotypes of females and males in regards to recessive sex-linked disorders. All right, so this is the genotypes over here, phenotypes, genotype, phenotype. All right, so what does this tell us? Well, it tells us a few things. It tells us this is a girl, and it tells us that she has 2 normal genes. So let's say we're talking about color blindness. Okay, both of her genes are for colored sight. Again, tells us it's a girl. And then it tells us that she has 1 normal color gene and 1 colorblind gene. Because it's recessive, she sees normal color, but she carries this gene, which means she could pass it down to her kids. And this tells us again that it's a female, and this time she has 2 copies of the colorblindness gene, so she would be colorblind. With males, there's only 2 options, kind of 50-50. Either he got the gene, or he got the normal gene from mom, which means he's normal, he can see normal colors, or he got the affected gene from mom, in which case he would be colorblind. Dad, again, doesn't matter because it's a Y chromosome, and you'll notice there's no A on the Ys because this gene is only found on the X chromosome. Also, if you want to abbreviate the phenotypes, because normal female, carrier female, like that's a lot to write every time you do a Punnett square, you can abbreviate just the first letters. So normal female NF, carrier female CF, and so on and so forth. All right. I can explain X inactivation. All right. X inactivation is an interesting concept, which makes a lot of sense because guys only need 1 X, right? They only have 1. They have an X and a Y. So why do girls need two? Well, the short answer is we don't. And so what we do in our cells is we turn off one of the X's. It shrivels up and kind of goes and hangs out in the corner. And we call that shriveled up inactive X chromosome a bar body. And so in females, every cell in her body only has one active X chromosome. Now, in the cells that will become eggs, they will reactivate that second X so that all of the potential egg cells, we know that in meiosis with females, you're only going to get one egg and three polar bodies, but all of the potential cells that could become an egg will have an active X. So this is only in somatic cells. And again, it's because females only need one X, and so they turn the other one off. And so there you go. And then the other two things we're going to talk about here are sex-influenced and sex-limited. Sex-influenced traits are those, let me see if I can find that slide. We can look at it while I'm talking. Are those that are present in both gender, but their expression depends on the gender, and a lot of time it's hormone related. So the best example I can think of, the only example I can think of right now, is male pattern baldness. Both males and females can have this, but in males, this is normal, and this is bald because of the influence of testosterone. Okay, so it shifts this over to baldness as well. But in females, because we have so much less testosterone, normal, the two dominants would be normal, well, the dominant and the heterozygous, and they would have the baldness with the little a. And so it's not that it can't be in both genders. It is in both genders. It's just influenced by the gender. And like I said, generally it's influenced by the presence of hormones in that gender. Sex-limited, on the other hand, sex-limited traits are limited to one gender. So the genes to make milk, the genes to lactate, are found in both males and females. So guys, you do have the genes to lactate, but they're turned off. So you can't lactate. Now, there are some instances you've probably heard about, random things, where males have lactated. Mutation. It's just a weird thing that happens. It's not normal. It's not going to happen to you unless you have that mutation. But so for the most part, that's the exception to the rule. The rule is that milk production lactation genes are only expressed or only active in females. So they are limited. So they're present in both, but they are only active in one. They're only expressed, meaning when I say expressed, I mean they're only being transcribed and translated into proteins in one gender. So the males have the genes, but they never transcribe them into RNA, which means they never translate those into proteins. And both of those are on the autosome as well. They're not sex-linked because they're not on the sex chromosomes. And so that's all about sex-linked, sex-influenced, sex-limited, X inactivation. And I hope that helps. But if you have any questions, let me know.